Welcome, discerning agents and investors nationwide. Today is Thursday, December 16th, 2021, and this is Mastermind podcast number 357. I just wanted to start with a congratulations and a shout out. Congratulations to Roger Lacey, who was the win of the week last week. At the end of the call, he had 3 success stories. We only had time for him to tell one. He was going to come back today and tell the other 2, but I noticed he's in the hospital. So wishes go out to, I don't think it's anything serious. I'm not sure, but if anybody knows Roger, tell him get healthy, get home in time for the holidays, and come back on the next call that he can. We hope he's doing okay. We do not have anyone in the queue. Hit *6 and hit 1, and you can be first up this week. Tim, anything you want to go over with the group this week?
Just a couple things that, just kind of trying to keep you guys sort of up to date on what we're doing and, that sort of stuff. We've literally, I'm going from one meeting to the next. We're researching and continuing to work on our changes that we're working on for next year. We are adding a lot of new things that we've been alluding to and playing around with and that sort of stuff. It's been an interesting year for us. We continue to grow and move forward and do good things, but we also realize that we have a need to modify our business as the market continues to modify itself. And so we're doing a lot of stuff right now that will provide you with a bunch of new tools next year, a bunch of new options for areas in your local market that you can deal with and all of that. So we have a gentleman in the office today that we're working with to begin looking at a whole bunch of different lead types that we're assimilating into our system. And so that's going on. We've got our development team hard at work doing that, and our lead on that has been working with this gentleman and the one person in our office that we're dedicating to the process to basically be the liaison between the computerization of it and all the different systems that we have to use to pull data down. So we're investing our time and energy to provide you with much better tools as we go forward. And we've reorganized the staff and the company and all of that. It's been a year of growth and reorganization for us. And we're going to hit the ground running hard January 1st. So we're excited about that. The only other thing that I'd ask is that Bruce kind of give us an update on the status of what's going on with the folks that are making the phone calls for our customers and kind of where that stands. And at the end, I've got one more thing I want to talk a little bit about in regard to what's happening in the mortgage marketplace that will have some bearing on what we're doing, but I'll save that for the end.
Well, we've got a lot of good things going with the folks that are doing the phone calls. Trying to build better and more efficient techniques for closing appointments. That's the biggest thing that I've been pushing them on is getting appointments. Their focus has been on providing kind of leads and names, numbers, and email addresses, and with addresses for the people that your leads that do say that they're going to sell property. The training that I'm focused on with them is how to turn that into appointments. I'd like to briefly switch gears off of the appointment setters and the ISAs and go over to some of the additional training. So you guys should be watching your emails over the next couple of weeks for some really cool trainings that are coming out. I've had a program for a while that had originally built to sell, and we're going to start offering it complimentary to all the lead subscribers. And that was primarily geared toward those of you that are agents, although those of you that are wholesalers and investors should also be paying special attention to those as well, because there's going to be some classes specifically for you guys also. We've been focused so heavily on probate for so long that a lot of times you guys think of us strictly as probate people, and we want to help your entire business. So be looking out in the next 2 weeks for those announcements and when those classes are going to be offered. It should be pretty frequently. So jump in those. They're going to be complementary for you and your business and help everybody grow, not just their probate niche, but their entire business as a whole.
Awesome. And I have before we get to Chuck, I have a brief comment to kind of tie up with what both of you went over. I just wanted to add to what Tim said. He hates it when I give timelines, so I'm not going to say when, but I will say that it's pretty safe to say that 2022 will be the year that we finally live up to our name. You know, when we had this concept, I was in Austin, Texas with a friend, and we had a concept of this company. We came up with, we're not going to just provide some leads, we're going to provide all the leads. And it was always our intent to do more than just probate. But it took us a while to perfect probate, and it took us a while to perfect the coming lead sources. But 2022 is going to be the year where we live up to that name, and we give you a whole lot more than just probate. And in most cases, it's high-hanging fruit as far as it's not easy for you to get these leads, but it's low-hanging fruit in the fact that you don't have a lot of competition on many of these lead sources. So I think that's very exciting. It's something we've been looking at for a long time. And then to follow up with what Bruce said, Bruce, I think a lot of people don't realize this. When I've been doing the calls to subscribers that I do periodically and talking about the ISA program, a lot of them don't realize that, again, this is not our first, rodeo with ISAs or having people call, but it is the first time we found a company that is willing to guarantee leads. That's pretty extraordinary in the ISA space. You pay them, you hire them, but they guarantee you, and I think it's at least a minimum of 4 warm leads. And my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce, a warm lead is somebody they've spoken to. The person verified they have property, they want to sell it, and they're willing to talk to the agent. So that's pretty remarkable. You're pretty remarkable. You don't have to worry about spending a bunch of money and getting nothing out of it. If somebody hands you 4 warm leads and you can't convert 1 or 2 of them, then you got to go back and take training, or you're doing something wrong there. So, I think that's very unique. I just wanted to add to what both of you had to say. And if neither of you have any follow-up to that, I was going to go to Chuck. Bruce, any follow-up to what I said, or are we good to go?
Those of you that just heard a 4 warm lead guarantee, we do have a set expectation. So when that ISA is connecting with you, we really tell the ISA that there's a filter that each lead has to go through. If it doesn't come out of the other end with a yes on all of those criteria, you still get the lead. We just don't count it toward that guarantee. And I do want everyone to know, last week we did not do a great job of this. The ISA company is endorsed by all the leads, but is not run by all the leads. Everyone should know that. It's endorsed. I do the training for the ISAs. And I just kind of wanted to make sure that everybody on the call kind of understood that all the leads is helping support and endorsing it. I'm doing the training. It's not directly affiliated with all the leads, though. Sorry, I had to give that plug. We did a bad job of it the last couple of weeks.
And I want to add to that as well, Bruce. And I think it's important to understand what we mean when we say we endorse it. We know that Bruce is incomparable in terms of training people to do the what to say, when to say it aspects of this. And he's the fellow that's employed by the company that does this to do the training, to make sure that the folks that do this job for you on your behalf as your contracted person that you're working with, he makes sure they know exactly what to do so that they're going to be efficient and get that job done. The issue there is that, these people work for you, and we know that they'll be trained properly to get that job done. And that's what's most critical from your standpoint, is knowing that, those are the right people. They're going to know what to do, and that they will be representing you properly. And that's why we're happy to endorse that effort. All right, Chuck, before we do have someone in the queue, there is room for more guys. Hit *6 and hit 1. We only got 2 weeks left, work weeks left this year. Let's finish strong, and we're here to help you do that. Before we go there, Chuck, anything you want to add?
Well, I think one of the key points of what I wanted to add is that, probate, when we look at supplying those leads and, whether you're hiring an ISA or you're making the calls and sending the direct mail to generate people to respond to you and give you leads for your real estate business, there are some dynamics, and we've talked a lot about networking with different folks and building out your team. And for those of you who have been through the foundations course that Bruce teaches, he really talks about a lot of the different business aspects of the probate niche. And I'm really doubling down in my business as well to really scope out a detailed business process and almost have it set up as its own business vertical, because things can be run a little bit differently because of the dynamics of probate cases. So that's something I'm really focused on, and I would urge everyone to not just throw it into a general hopper of leads coming in, but really to look at your leads and look at the probate process and how you handle those leads in its own type of business entity inside of what you're doing in real estate. It's something to consider. I have a pretty good idea, and I'm building it out and mapping it right now for myself in my business. So don't hesitate to reach out. Go to the training tab, go to the professional real estate coaching. Every single month you have a free 15, 20-minute strategy coaching call, and we can sit down and we can talk about how you have your business structured, how you're approaching this, get you unstuck from anything that's in your way. That's part of your subscription here at All the Leads, and we are happy to help.
Excellent. And what I was going to add to that, Chuck, it just occurred to me that you're right. They are complete. It is a completely different strategy than most leads. It's not necessarily more difficult. I mean, often you're just dealing with motivated absentee owners, but it's one of the reasons that we give you a CRM. If you want to keep, and many of our most easy for me to say, successful subscribers that have very complicated, CRMs keep their probate leads separate, because it is a separate strategy, and it's a separate category. So we do include that CRM, and some people combine them all, but they make a notation that it's probate. But one of the reasons we give you that CRM, if you do want to keep them segregated and you want to work them separately, that's the way a lot of agents choose to handle them. All right. Well, we do have one in the queue. We've got plenty of room for more, guys. Hit *6 and hit 1. In the meantime, let's go to our first caller this week. Is phone number ending in 6920. You're up first.
Yeah. Hey, this is Felix out of Tucson, Arizona. And I was dialing the numbers, and maybe this question may be futile because I am seriously considering that ISA option. But so how efficient do you guys see dialing the numbers that do not carry the name of the personal representative? So, usually get like 4 or 5 numbers, right? And there are usually 2 numbers or 1 number with the name of the actual PR. So the question is, how efficient is it to actually dial the other numbers?
So I got this. Let me just tell you, First off, what the numbers represent. So the intent is to always give you the ability to find the personal representative, and that's the intent. The plan is to reach out to anyone that we can help you find to reach the personal representative. So the numbers that are attached to the personal representatives are ones that we've determined do that. The rest of the numbers that we give you are, for better way to look at that might be look at those as affinity numbers. And what that means is it's someone who is likely to have a relationship with that person. It could be a family member of the personal representative. It could be a neighbor. It could be anything. And the best one that we can get you that would, in fact, reach out and help you find the PR. So start at the first one and keep going until you get them. The idea is that when you make those phone calls, you need to begin them with basically, let's assume the personal representative is John Smith. It's, hey, this is Felix. I'm trying to reach John Smith. And, if you've got the, next door neighbor, they're going to say, well, John's not here. Well, this is not John's house. I know. I got that. I'm just trying to reach him. And I had a phone number for him, and it doesn't seem to be the right number. And I'm trying to reach him. And your name came up as somebody who might be able to help me find him. I'm just trying to get him. And they're going to say, what are you looking for him for? And, you can start that dialogue and you can work through that process. But we're doing everything we can to try and help you find that guy. So that's why we give you those numbers.
Okay.
Yep. And I'm going to chime in on that. I've actually never got a neighbor when I've called down the list. Sure, it happens. Most of the time, those lower numbers, in my experience, have been family members. And oftentimes, immediately they're going to say, hey, wrong number. And I go, hey, not a problem. I apologize for giving you a call. Do you happen to know John Smith, though? And that's where very frequently you're going to hear, yeah, it's my cousin, it's my brother, it's my son, my father, whatever. And at that point, what I'm going to do is just say, this probably isn't exactly relevant to you. It's relevant to John. Do you mind if I tell you why I was calling, and then you tell me what I should do next? That's going to pique their curiosity. Almost everyone's going to say, yeah, sure, especially if they know or think that you're not calling to sell them. If you're calling to sell someone else, they're going to be like, yeah, sure, I'm curious to find out what this is about. And then you can go into a really quick elevator pitch, find out what your next step is. A lot of times, and we've had countless experiences, both in my business and all the lead subscribers, where that person says, well, yeah, that's my brother, and he's the PR, but I'm helping with the process. And now all of a sudden you've gotten someone that, just because they're not the personal representative doesn't mean that they're not heavily involved with a say in that process. So I believe that the PR is obviously the person that you definitely want to connect with first, if possible. But there's a lot of value in those other relationships that are given to you, a lot of value. Many times they have even more say in what to do with the property than the PR. Just because they're busier doesn't mean that they have less of an impact on what happens with that estate.
Bruce, while you were talking about that, it occurred to me about the stories we've heard over the years, too, of people that did deals with wrong phone numbers, totally wrong phone numbers, didn't know John Smith, had nothing to do with it. And they said, you mind if I briefly tell you what I'm doing? Oh, well, geez, well, I've got a house I want to sell. And I'm not saying pitch everybody you speak to, but if you got somebody who's willing to talk, let them listen for a minute. You never know.
Of course.
So with that said, we heard this story probably a month ago from one of our subscribers, and so I know some of you have heard this story. But Kevin Rich, if you're on here, I don't know if you're in the session or not, but if you are, chime in. I want to hear the story of your gentleman in Texas that was the wrong person. And if I don't hear Kevin chime in, I'll share a little bit of it in a few minutes.
Yeah, I don't see him on the call list. But
okay.
Anyway, does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it.
All right. Anything else we can help you with this week?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, we do have one more in the queue. Hit *6 and hit 1. And then next up is phone number ending in 4471. You're up next.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
This is Winston Covington out here in Southern California, and I've got an update on a challenge that was actually driving me nuts last week, and we talked about it. I was the guy that was really embarrassed about, having 4 months worth of leads sitting on my desk, just, letting life get in the way. I had a big operation I had mentioned and was just trying to figure out where in the heck I should start, whether I should start with the oldest, go to the newest, what kind of letters, what kind of postcards, the timing, and just really frustrated. And what I did is I reached out to Bruce. and basically hired him for some coaching. And I have to say to anybody out there that if you're stuck, if you're frustrated, don't quit, don't give up. Talk to Bruce, because it was, to me, a priceless conversation. I walked out of that coaching call with the plan in place. Things are happening. I'm hoping to have my first mail drop done here very shortly, and really, really feeling good about all the support I got there with all the leads, and Bruce's coaching was exactly what I needed to have. So I just wanted to give you guys an update and let people know that if you need some help, reach out to Bruce. He was a great guy to talk to, and I wanted to say thank you.
Well, thanks, Winston. And honestly, you were in the same position that so many other people are, where you were only like 4 months behind, and nobody ever wants to fall behind, but truthfully, is 4 months really that hard to catch up on based on the plan we discussed?
You know what? It's going to happen quick there, Bruce, so no. Yeah, I was frustrated last week, I'll tell you. I was just kind of pulling my hair out as to where to start and what to do, but as of now, with the plan in place, I feel pretty good about it and looking forward to the drop. And I was listening to your coaching there last week, and you were saying, hey, guys, don't go to sleep in December. Turn it on so you can finish strong, which is what I'm going to be doing, and then it'll help me gain the momentum I need to start the first quarter of 2022 strong. So again, just a big shout out for all the support there and all the leads.
Thank you, Tim. And Tim had something you wanted to add also, right, Tim?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Winston, that's great. And I also it's kind of important that you know kind of what happens when we deal with customers with issues of any kind, how many people actually get involved and deal with all of this. And, we work through all of that. So since you placed that call, you talked to Bruce, I've also heard from Jessica, who I believe you've worked with, I think Megan as well. We've got one of the designers who's working on it. They've created some help for you in regard to some of your designs, and they're waiting on a little bit of information from me. And I've been tied up in the morning, but I know it's on my queue to do as well to get back to you this afternoon so we can start getting your stuff out starting tomorrow. So, we put all the wheels in motion. We've got staff ready to jump anytime anybody needs anything at all. And we're far more than just a lead company. And I think that's the important message that if you're on this call, you ought to get is that if you're sitting there floundering, trying to figure all this out. Guys, we're here to help you. Don't sit there and go, I've made this investment and I'm not getting the results that I look for. That's because, you may be putting them under your pillow and hoping they're going to, the tooth fairy is going to show up with a contract that you can get signed and get done. And it doesn't work that way. But we are here to help you, and we will pull out any stops that we possibly can to get things done to help you out. And we're ready to work with you and get things going. And I know you've been struggling with how to figure this out, and we're happy to help you, man. You're going to hit the ground running in January. You're going to make a lot of money. So rock on. I'm
looking forward to it. Thanks, Tim.
All righty.
And you didn't mention that part of the plan to get caught up is Bruce said you have to call all day on Christmas and New Year's, right?
Yeah, we did talk about calling, guys. We definitely did that as well. But I just wanted to take a quick second following up on what Tim said, and the support was actually beyond what I expected. I'm just going to go ahead and give a shout out to Jessica Tabor. She's been great. Toby has been great putting my new website together, and everybody I've talked to has been very, very helpful. So if anybody's sitting on the fence out there, guys, just jump in, get the help, and again, Bruce is a great coach.
Thank you, Winston. We appreciate you. Anything else we can help you with this week? We have no one else in the queue right now. You good to go?
No, that's it. I'm just looking forward to the drop in the calls.
All right, great. We'll give a few more minutes for people to jump in the queue, Bruce, and we'll let you tell the rich story. If no one else is in the queue, we'll let everybody get back to work.
Yeah, so Kevin's story, for those of you that didn't hear it a few weeks ago, was that he mailed a gentleman in Texas. So we actually gave him the wrong contact information. We skip traced it, and everybody should know that when we go out and pull this information in, it's highly accurate, but there are some folks that slip through the cracks with an occasional incorrect address or phone number. So this guy called him and said, "Hey, I'm looking for Kevin Rich." And Kevin said, yeah. And the guy said, hey, I'm just calling you. I've been getting your letters, and I wanted to find out what it was that you did. And Kevin told him, and the guy said, well, that's not me at all. I live in Texas. You live in Massachusetts. That doesn't apply to me. And Kevin immediately, I apologize. I'll take you off of the list. And the guy said, whoa, hold on a second. My family's actually from your area, and they're thinking about selling a house. I'd like to talk to you. So to my knowledge, I think Kevin has already taken that listing and has it under contract and potentially closed already, all from continuing to follow up with someone that wasn't even the right person. So these things work. Just because you occasionally might get the wrong person, it doesn't mean that you should drop that relationship, because there's a lot of value here. The odds are, I think last time I checked, the average person in the United States moves every 7 years. That's kind of old data. I don't know if it's accurate anymore or not, but it's close. So you get one person in every 7 calls, and you're going to have someone that is thinking about a move in the next year. So I encourage you guys, don't let the relationship go just because you got the wrong person or someone says that they're not interested right now. There's still a lot of value in there.
All right, awesome. Last chance to jump in the queue, and then Jim, I think you have something you want to close with this week.
Yeah, I want to touch on something that if you're a realtor, you probably are aware of this already. There's been a lot of noise about it, and I wanted to comment on it. There's pending legislation and other stuff going on. It has to do with what they call real estate love letters. If you're not familiar with that, it was, like many things, it started off to be something that was simply a wonderful thing that people were doing, where the seller was putting a letter together to prospective buyers that basically, or the other way around, that the buyers or sellers are putting stuff out that basically are harmless. They are saying, why it would be great to live here and the many reasons why potentially a seller might pick them. And what I mean by that is that, they might say, my family would love to live there. And it's kind of an innocuous way to, try to get some sympathy and maybe cut them a break, because the seller might think, well, these people would sure enjoy, my neighborhood, the people that I care about would like living by these people. Well, like everything else, it's turned into a problem. And I'm hearing a buzz on the line. Jim, is it bouncing back on your headset?
No, that's not me.
Okay.
Actually,
anyway,
it's one of us. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's just finish what I was going to say. So, the issue there is that it's a circumstance where people are beginning to use this to basically cheat the system. And what I mean by that is that it's back to discrimination and a lot of the other things that go on like that, where it's like they try to identify the ethnicity or the religion or whatever of the people that are writing, this potential buyer that's writing this, in quote, love letter, to determine if they'd be a good fit with the neighborhood. The one thing I want to caution you about is to not get into a situation where that could come back and bite you. There have been lawsuits filed by prospective buyers where they felt like their better offer might have been refused in the system because the seller decided to sell their property to somebody else based on a love letter. And the issue is that you need to educate your clients about that. You need to explain the pitfalls and the laws in regard to love letters, and that you are not going to deliver the buyer love letters and won't do that as part of what you're doing. And just got to be really careful about that. And if your client insists on driving, if you're acting as a buyer's agent and they really want to go do that, don't help them do it. Don't touch it. If they want to deliver it, that's up to them. You can't stop them from doing it. Don't read it. Don't be aware of it. Stay away from it. And the reason I'm bringing it up is we don't want to see anybody get in trouble where, you get drawn into some sort of a lawsuit of unfair housing. Just be careful with that. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is that it has increasingly, literally in the last 2 weeks, come to my attention from people that I know in the industry, and I got asked to comment about that in regard to probate specifically, because oftentimes the house that's getting sold out of probate is being sold without a realtor. And, how does that affect, probate and things like that? And of course, we always encourage folks that, even if it's an investor that you're looking for, you try to go through a realtor. If you can find one, they help you get the product marketed. So educate yourself a little bit about this. I think it's important that you understand what's at stake here and all of that. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just saying, know what you're dealing with. And the best approach there is to say, don't do that, and encourage any buyers and sellers to strictly deal with it on the merits of the property and what the property is worth, not, what the neighborhood might look like or all that. You're not social engineers. You're transactional engineers. You're trying to help people buy and sell property. That's it. And I'm not trying to give you a false warning. Look it up if you think that it's a non-issue in your market. I can assure you it is becoming one.
It's interesting, Tim, as you were talking about that, I flashed back on something that I was talking to Pam and the staff here about a few weeks ago, that years ago, like way back in the Stone Ages when I first started selling real estate, every single condominium that was bought or sold, you used to have to meet with the condo board and get approved. I don't know that there's any left anymore that I've run into in a long time that require an in-face meeting, and it seems like the trend over the last years has been they don't even require an approval. The oceanfront complex that we buy and sell in, if you're approved for the mortgage, and you got the cash, it's a deal between the seller and the buyer. The condo associations are getting out of the way of the approvals, and I wonder if it isn't for the same reason.
It depends on the bylaws of the condo and the association. Homeowners associations generally can't do that because they got kind of out of the way of that with blockbuster laws back in the 50s and 60s. They kind of can't do that. But condo associations, particularly in places like New York and all that, they definitely still have the you got to meet the approval of the board, and they are constructed in such a way that says everyone who gets rented in the building, people have to sign off on it, and it's made that way as part of the deed. It's a deed restriction in the property. Now, I don't know that that's been changed. I will assume in the next year you're going to see them be sued as well for the same kind of thing, because people that can afford to live there ought to be able to live there.
What I mean, though, Tim, is even the ones that there is a deed restriction and require an approval, it's unheard of, at least in Florida anymore, to require an interview. The approval is just fill out this.
They still do it in New York. They still do it in New York.
Oh, they still do.
Yeah,
and that might be that may be co-ops and different. But interesting.
Sure.
All right.
It is.
Yeah. Well, we do not have anyone in the queue, guys. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. I want to close like I always do. I want to challenge you. Take one idea, one thought, one thing that inspired you on this call. Go out and put it into practice. And please come back next Thursday for our last call, our second to last call of the year, I guess, and share your results with the group. Have a great week, everybody. We will talk to you soon. Take care.